This is Dr. Patmos with a quick video tonight on March the 13th. Just saw an article from The Atlantic, which I linked below, which talks about how Florida right now is reeling with the third highest number of cases of measles of any state in the country. The measles epidemic, the measles outbreak of the past year or so has returned to Florida and is now causing lots of problems, except that Florida is ignoring it. They're not saying anything about it. They're not doing anything about it. They've got their head in the sand. Here's the point that I think is very important to make. And I commented about this extensively back in 2024. I did a number of videos, podcasts about it, and I wrote several Substack articles about it. For those of you who remember, there had been essentially no measles in the United States for like 20 years, one case here, one case there. No significant outbreak for nearly, I think, close to 30 years until 2024. And in 2024, around the summer, just as I think kids were going back to school, there was an outbreak in South Florida. And I think there was 6 or 8 cases or something like that. It's a relatively small number of cases, but measles is measles. It is the most contagious virus known to man. It's hideously contagious, and every person who gets measles will expose, on average, 18 other people. So it increases logarithmically. Well, what happened in Florida in 2024 and what I predicted would come from it was Dr. Joseph Ladapo, the undertrained Surgeon General for the state of Florida. He is an internist. He has no training in infectious diseases or infection control whatsoever, and he's a committed anti vaxxer. Anyhow, this was early on in his tenure as state Surgeon General. They had this outbreak, and he made the most ridiculous recommendation. Contrary to anything anywhere in the world, no infectious disease doctor, no infection control practitioner, no one with any knowledge of measles would have made the recommendation that he made. The standard evidence based, long held recommendation is if children are exposed to measles, they need to stay home. You don't send them to school, especially if they're not immunized. You don't send exposed, unimmunized children to school because if you do that, you're going to spread measles. And, well, Dr. Ladapo, he doesn't think that that tried and true recommendation is good. So he came out and said, no, this is a matter of parental choice. If you want to keep your child home, good. If you don't want to keep your child home, it's no problem. Send them to school. Well, I said then that here's what would happen. Because of Ladapo's numbskull recommendation, children who are unvaccinated children exposed to measles, incubating the virus, went to school and exposed others. They then exposed others, and then it spread. And within a few weeks, measles cases started popping up in the southern tier of states, sort of like Georgia and Mississippi and Louisiana and so forth. And then a few sporadic cases here and there as these people, people travel and they bring the virus with them. But right after Ladapo made his catastrophic and incorrect decision in Florida, within a few weeks to a few months, measles was popping up in the southern coastal states. And that was how 2024 ended. But measles doesn't know the calendar. In early 2025, it showed up in Texas. And everybody has treated this like this is a new outbreak in Texas. This was the one that occurred within the children who are, I don't know if they're Mennonites or some religious sect that eschews vaccination. Well, then it got back in the news again. There was this big outbreak in Texas. I think a couple hundred kids and 2 deaths, and then that outbreak in Texas appeared to have come from Louisiana. Now you can actually do testing on the virus strains to connect them, but that wasn't done. Florida didn't do that. So I can't prove to you microbiologically that it was the strain of measles in Florida that spread through the southern tier to Louisiana and then into Texas. But it makes the most sense epidemiologically. And well, from Texas in early 2025, we know what happened. Measles went all over the United States, and we finished up 2025 with well over 2,000 cases, the worst performance in 30 years, and which will cause the United States to lose its disease measles free designation, and with a couple of deaths that we know of. And now remember, the number of reported cases is always less than the actual number of cases because a lot of times doctors don't report. They don't make the correct diagnosis. Patients don't go to the hospital or the doctor. And so if you ever read that there's 2,000 cases of this or that, the chances are there's usually twice as many. Well, here we are in 2026, and measles is roaring. It's still roaring. In fact, we have over 1,000 cases of measles in the United States right now. And a lot of them recently in South Carolina, where there was a big group of one area, one county where the vaccination rate is very, very low. And now we have over 1,000 cases, and kids are hospitalized with measles encephalitis. By the way, they're not going to do well, most likely. And now measles is flaring up in Florida. It's come around. It's made the big circle loop, the big grand, the great circle drive. It started in Florida, went to the south, Texas, the rest of the United States, and is back in Florida now. And now the virus has come home to roost. It's only early March. We have well over 1,000 cases. We have a lot of unvaccinated children, and we have parents who believe the stupidity that and the lie that vaccination causes autism. It doesn't. And so we're going to continue to see more and more measles. And unfortunately, some of these children are going to be left permanently damaged with encephalitis. Some children do die from measles. Others are left with permanent neurological injury from it. And there's the other than death, the worst outcome is subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, which is basically your brain just completely rots away. And that happens about 20 years after you get measles. So it's not an acute illness. It's a virus that stays in your system, and it continues to wreak havoc on the nervous system, leading to early death and severe symptoms later on in life. So that's the situation. The point is, this is all Dr. Ladapo's fault.